Hi, my name is Noah, and in this video, I'll be showing you how to use Atlas to manage your Databricks schema. The GitHub repository that I'll be using will be linked down below, and in that is going to be instructions on how to get set up with the files and variables that I'll be using in this demonstration, along with additional information and links to other relevant documentation. If anything still feels unclear, feel free to reach out or leave a comment down below. Atlas offers two workflow options for managing your schema as code: declarative and versioned. We're going to start off by going over the most basic implementations of these workflows and then move on to the automation, Atlas Cloud, CI/CD, etc. So starting with declarative migrations, I currently have an empty Databricks database. It only has this default schema in it. And here I've defined what is going to be considered my desired state for my database. It's defined here in the schema.sql file, and I've added a users table to it. So this is the state I want my database to get to. This is what I want to migrate to. Now, how I do this with Atlas is I run Atlas schema apply, and I give it the URL to my Databricks database. Again, this is all getting these variables set up is all explained in the README in the GitHub repository that's linked below. I'm giving it the URL to my database, the file path to my desired schema state, which is, again, this schema.sql file. I'm turning off transaction mode because Databricks doesn't use transactions for migrations. And I'm also giving it the URL to a dev database. Now, this is what Atlas is going to use. I'm just going to run this really quick because it takes a second. But what Atlas is going to do is use a dev database to figure out how I get from my current empty database to this desired state. So here you can see that we have this plan here for migrating to this desired state. It's just the same create table statement. And then no diagnostics are found from analyzing the plan, and I can either approve and apply or abort. Now I'm going to abort only because I want to also show you the version workflow. So with version migrations, instead of comparing my target database directly to this desired state, it's going to compare the state of a migrations directory. I currently don't have one, so that's basically similar to an empty database. And what happens is when I diff between the migrations directory and my desired state, it's going to take that difference, and instead of making a plan of SQL statements, it'll make a migration file of SQL statements. This gives us the chance to have a versioned history and a source of truth for all of the states that our database has gone through. So we'll get this diff by running atlas migrate diff right here. Again, we have the file path to the desired state that I have, and again, the dev database. So again, after a little bit of time, we have here a new migrations directory with a migration file that, again, just has that statement that gets us this table in what is seemingly an empty database. And what I can do now is run atlas migrate apply. Again, this is now we have our URL to our Databricks database. And again, transaction mode is turned off for this. And now it's going to apply this change to my database. So after a bit of time, you can see we have a similar output here. We have that it's migrating to a new version, and this is the SQL statement that was applied to get to this new version. Just to take a quick look here at my actual database, I'm going to reload, and you can see now in my default schema, there is a users table with the columns that we had defined. Now that we've gone over both of those workflows in the CLI, let's go over how we can do version migrations in CI/CD with Atlas Cloud and GitHub Actions. If you would like to do the declarative workflow in CI/CD, those instructions, again, will be in the README of the GitHub repository, and the workflow file will be added after I'm done with this video. So to get set up, the first thing we're going to need is our Atlas Cloud repository. Again, those instructions are in the README on how to get this set up, but you can see it currently has that most recent state that we migrated to. Now let's go over what is actually in our workflow file. So what we're going to do, the way that this works is you create your migration file locally as usual with migrate diff, and then create a pull request for that new migration file and the new hash file that, again, is explained further in our documentation. But you're going to upload those files to a new PR. And when you create that pull request, GitHub is going to call this job right here, Atlas migrate lint. And with the connection to your Atlas Cloud, Atlas is going to lint that migration file to make sure that everything is okay, that there are no issues with it before you actually merge it into your main branch. Once you do merge that pull request into your main branch, it will lint that file again, and then the next job is here. It's going to push that migration file to your Atlas Cloud repository and then apply the migration to your actual database. So let's try this ourselves. What I'm going to do here is go into my desired state, and I'm just going to add a simple column, nothing too crazy. I'm just going to call this full name. So we have our display name and we have our full name. I'm going to run atlas migrate diff one more time, and that's going to add another migration file into this migrations directory. And it's also going to update this checksum file. So this is basically how we keep track of our migration files and make sure that there aren't any overrides by multiple developers, or that no changes have been made to our migration files that weren't accounted for. This just makes sure that everything is good and clean and fresh. So I made that new migration file and pushed to a new branch called migration. So now I'm going to open a pull request. I'm just going to call this, add, to make it a little more detailed, add full name column to users table. I'm going to create that pull request. And right away, we should see that a job is going to start. So here we have a check that's being completed. This is going to be linting that migration file. So now that check has been completed, and we have a comment on our pull request that states that one new migration file was detected, that the updates in Atlas Cloud have been done, and no issues were found with our migration. So what this means is that now if I go into my repository and I go to CI runs, I can see that migrate lint run has been done here. And this is just showing what this migration is going to do. So it's going to add this full name column to our users table, and everything looks good. So because of that, I'm now going to merge the pull request, and we should see that these other jobs are going to be running. If I go back to the main branch, we'll see that these jobs are now running. So now this is all done. So I'm going to go back to my repository and check, and we can see that our latest state is now this new migration that we have added. I can even go back and check the difference between the two. So we've added this full name column. And just to be 100% sure that everything is all good, I'm going to check that it has been applied to my database. So yep, we can see here that the full name column has now been added to my actual Databricks database, to that table in my database. So I hope that this was a good, well-rounded review of how to use Atlas for your Databricks schema management. Again, the README of this GitHub repository is going to go in detail on how to do declarative migrations, version migrations, declarative CI/CD, and version CI/CD. And if anything is left unclear, feel free to reach out or leave a comment down below.